Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time today. I'd like to first start off by introducing the team. Today you have Corwin McMahon, our VP of Digital Insights and Innovation, Sharon Scarborough, VP of Client Services, and I'm Royer Baez, VP of Strategy. Together we are the RSC Group. Thank you for allowing us to show you new revenue opportunities to Painter Motors' online business. By closely listening to your concerns, we've identified the challenge Painter Motor faces in today's quickly changing shopping environment. We'll review key takeaways from our SWOT analysis that have helped us outline a few objectives. We'll then share our recommendations for Painter Motors to achieve its business goals. And lastly, we'll close with a few recommendations that FCA can do at a national level to support their partners. The effects of COVID-19 have changed the way we live, the way we work, the way we play, and ultimately, the way we buy. The auto industry, like every other, is forced to make changes to the way it engages leads and converts them to buyers. Painter Motors' challenge is to become a trusted and reliable digital retailer by Q4 2020. The ones who can adapt better, faster, and smarter will win. Painter Motors can do it, and this is how. We've conducted a SWOT analysis to identify key areas of focus that informed our plan to catapult Painter Motors into a digital-first shopping experience. After assessing Painter Motors' strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, we've concluded that aligning efforts on reducing online friction for the customer and leveraging its omni-headway channel by filling in a few digital gaps should be priorities for Painter Motors during this time. First, in order for Painter Motors to be successful in becoming a digital first by Q4, we need to optimize its digital customer journey and lead management pipelines by leveraging a combination of existing and new digital retail solutions. We also need to take necessary steps in mitigating COVID-19 risks during the test driving and delivering experience with a comprehensive safety plan. So let's dive into it. Here's how we'll achieve these goals through key recommendations. We have an excellent customer persona by the way of Painter Motors, Angela Walker. Angela will guide us through this journey. But first, let's get to know Angela a bit. Angela is a newly retired and she's shopping for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Safety is a top priority for Angela. She takes trips from her hometown of Michigan to Chicago in the snowy winter months, which could be dangerous. That concern for safety, though, is most immediately present in her buying experience during COVID.
Did we lose audio?
Yeah, I think we lost audio.
States governments to help determine risk tolerance and the appropriate option for shopping, paperwork processing, and car delivery. Based on Angela's concerns and this metrics, Angela would likely opt for a contactless buying experience. Of course, during the delivery process, all safety procedures will be in place with salespersons wearing masks, social distancing, and sanitizing vehicles and accessories during any car exchange. This will all be communicated to the customer in advance. But what does the contactless buying experience look like? We'll check it out right now. So let's start off by beginning to see a first impression that Angela and new leads may experience when visiting a car dealership's website for the first time. Dealership websites today are not inviting, nor are they easy to navigate. They pose a ton of friction for the visitors. Here's an example of a dealership local to Angela. You'll notice it's not designed in a way that allows users to intuitively know where to go for answers. These issues will drive customers elsewhere, and as a result, a loss of qualified leads and online buyers. We, in contrast, want to leverage e-commerce best practices along with a brand elevating design to create a homepage that feels welcoming, and this makes discovery a pleasant experience for the user. We ultimately want customers to feel encouraged that shopping on paintermotors.com is easy and reliable. And in order to do that, we'll make the Shop Online button easy to find and decrease friction points along the customer's online journey. We do this by placing Shop Online button on the top right corner of the menu bar, where we know customers are already used to seeing shopping carts on popular e-commerce websites. Customers already conditioned to look at that part, so we can leverage that. Then, we have a beautiful hero image promoting this year's holiday deal, along with a clear to action, shop here, leading visitors to the Shop Online page. Another KPI for paintermotors.com should be lead generation. Here's a real life example from a competitor's generating leads with chatbox AI technology. You'll see here various points of friction where the customer is asking a question and it's not really being answered. Not optimizing at this critical engagement opportunity is a huge vulnerability. Market research has shown us that 82% of customers expect an immediate response to their sales questions. What's great is that many companies are leveraging chat boxes. However, what's not great is that many of them are performing just like this, underperforming, and leaving customers frustrated and abandoning the engagement. For the dealership, this equates to a lot of qualified leads. And now I pass it on to Cohen to share our digital solutions to manage leads and more.
Thank you so much, Royer. So one of the first things we did is we went ahead and submitted a lead on the website because we wanted to see how the lead qualification process really worked. And what you have here are a couple of emails that we received immediately after submitting a lead. And you can see that it's a very clunky process. You have one that's saying that you can use a QRC code when you get to the dealership. You have another asking whether it's okay to text or to email. Then you have another one asking whether or not you can use this phone number. The process is very, very clunky. And what we found is in the research, it shows that 78% of consumers purchase from the first company that responds to them. And you can actually increase your sales conversion by 391% by interacting with the customer within the first minute they submit a lead. So what we believe is that we really need to look at a comprehensive solution that not only solves the problem of what happens when the customer gets to the website, but also how are they getting there? What are the messages they're receiving before that and all the way through the whole consumer buying process? So our solution really builds upon VIN Solutions. That's the current CRM system that FCA is using. And what we did was we wanted to figure out a way to integrate all of the different functionality we needed by using current technology, which basically using Twilio is a really great omni-channel engagement platform that allows you to pull in all the pieces that you need to create an excellent customer journey. We like Twilio because it has Twilio Flex, which allows it to have a seamless integration into VIN Solutions, as well as all the other partners that we're going to be mentioning later on in our presentation. So first, what we're going to be talking about is using AI, artificial intelligence, to be a sales concierge throughout the whole process. One of the things that we'll be looking at shortly will be a video of the GridSpace AI sales concierge bot that will be actually interacting with Angela once she submits her lead. So once she hits submit, within that first minute, she's going to receive a call from Angela the AI that's going to bring her all the way through the whole process. So we'll go ahead and play that video for you now.
Hello. Hi, is this Angela? This is Nick Baker calling from Painter Motors about a quote you requested on a Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Do you have a minute to talk?
Oh, hi, Nick. Yeah, thanks for giving me a call. So yes, I am interested in buying this Grand Cherokee Limited. So I like the car, but I am worried about getting the virus coming to the dealership. Would you recommend that I hold off buying until it's safer to come in?
I'm the same way, Angela. I haven't been out in public much either. But Painter Motors now offers contactless delivery, so we can bring the car right to your house and you don't need to worry.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't even know that was an option. Would I have to pay for the car first?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. So we will allow you to test drive the car at home before purchasing. I can send you a link with more information if that's helpful.
Glad to hear about that. That's definitely something I would want to do before buying. I was wondering if the four-wheel drive model gets worse gas mileage than the regular, leaning a little toward the four-wheel drive, but I'm worried about burning through gas.
I don't think there's a big difference, but give me 1 second while I look that up. So I'm seeing here that the four-wheel drive gets 25 miles to the gallon, while the standard drivetrain gets 26. Would you like me to send you the comparison information on the Grand Cherokee Limited to all4angela@gmail.com?
Okay, so that's almost no difference. Thanks for answering that. So yes, that would be great if you could send that.
No problem. And is there any chance you have availability next Saturday or Sunday to schedule a test drive?
Let me check my calendar. So next Saturday at 1 p.m. works for me.
Sounds good. I'll get a confirmation out in the next couple of minutes. Anything else?
Okay, so just to confirm, you can deliver my new car to my home?
Yes, and to protect you from COVID, we will sanitize any car we deliver to you before handing you the keys. I should have asked, do you want to complete your paperwork at the dealership, through the mobile app, or the web?
I think online would probably be the easiest and the safest.
Okay, great choice. I just sent out the confirmation email, and I'll give you a call if we missed anything, but we're looking forward to seeing you Saturday at 1 p.m. Have a great day, Angela, and take care.
All right, thanks so much.
We really love this demonstration because what you can see is Nick is a total AI bot. Angela thinks she's speaking to a live person at the dealership. This conversation can happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nick never needs to take a day off, never calls in sick, and is always happy and chipper to answer any of Angela's questions. And this is the type of service that we want to have across the board for all the customers that are coming in and visiting Painter Motors. What you can see on the screen is you can see that the conversation is being tracked, looking at emotional valence, seeing if Angela were to bring up something where she was having a negative interaction, let's say with something on the dealership, all of that information is now taken, and the great GridSpace AI is learning through the process. So it's getting better with each engagement that it has. So one of the things that we wanted to also look at was just seeing that the full lead management process across the board. So again, GridSpace is for confirming the lead within that 1 minute time that we talked about. It's setting up the next engagement, which is the dealership visit. It's talking about all the paperwork and really bringing Angela through the whole buying process and setting up everything else for success. We really feel like this is the best way to manage the lead flow that are coming in for Painter Motors. But even before we get to the point where Angela submitted the leads, one of the things that we noticed as we did our research is that there's a missed opportunity with regards to the social media management on the dealership levels for a lot of FCA dealers. And one of the solutions that we feel are best to solve this would be Hootsuite. Hootsuite is an omni-channel engagement platform specifically for social media. So for only $19 a month, a business is able to manage 10 social profiles and automate the process. So they can plan months in advance, all of the different sales promotions, personalized communications, all of that can be programmed into the system ahead of time, and then it naturally just happens. And then the only thing that you're managing daily is really the engagements with customers on the different platforms. So if you get a question on Facebook, the same answer that you're going to get on Facebook is the same answer you're going to get on Twitter, and it's all across the board and it's seamless. It's a great platform. We see this as an industry standard going forward as a sales process becomes more digital. The next solution is really thinking about, okay, so once Angela submits that lead, what happens? How do we make sure that that information isn't some bogus information? It's not from a bot. And that's really where Nextcaller comes in. Nextcaller does all the lead scrubbing. Basically, once Angela hits submit, that lead comes into the CRM. The Nextcaller database is pinged, and they will scrub it against a blacklist of negative words, all that. But the really great thing about the Nextcaller platform is they will then append that customer relationship record, Angela's record, with 100 additional points of data. So now the dealership knows whether Angela's divorced, she's married, whether she has kids, she's purchased her home before. they have all this additional information to make that engagement with Angela much more contextual, not only through the Nick, through the AI portion, but also when she does visit the dealership if she chooses to do so. Next, we have Googaboo. And what was really great was as we started researching, how can we really reimagine the chat experience for Painter Motors customers? We were really amazed to see that FCA is already using Googaboo. So we were totally in line with that. We really feel that that was a good choice. And we really recommend that more local dealerships begin to adopt Googaboo. It's one of those platforms that allows you to bring the full buying process to the chat box, which is amazing. The inventory, all of that. And we feel that that totally complements the Hootsuite platform where it's reaching out to other social media outlets, as well as then bringing in the GridSpace AI. And so one of the things that was really clunky in the process we noticed, and there was a lot of opportunity for process improvement, was really about the documents. And that's where Notarize.com comes in. They have a seamless platform that does all the identity verification, takes the customer through all of the forms that are needed. The forms are then at the end produced that are notarized, as well as there's a video interaction with the agent while they're walking the person through the forms. So you can actually reduce your back office staff over time as the system learns. Dramatically. And that's where we see a lot of the saving with the clunkiness of once the person actually decides they want to buy the car. So what we did was we looked at the local level. We wanted to step back and we wanted to think about what can we do on the national level? What can the national brands do? So we looked at Jeep, we looked at Ford, we looked at Toyota, we looked at their homepages, and we really analyzed about 45 key website metrics, platform integrations, and tools to really figure out like what are some of the recommendations on a national level that FCA can make. And one of the first things is diversifying customer engagement channels. What we notice is that we don't see as much of what's mirrored out in the world. People are able to purchase homes sight unseen these days, but you still can't purchase a new car on eBay. And there's no reason why. You can purchase a used car. So there's a lot of different channels that are not being taken advantage of. Ebates alone has 12 million active users per day. There's no reason why you can't build a new car on Ebates. It's an opportunity that's missed, and I think an opportunity that can definitely help take the FCA brand to the next level. Next, we wanted to talk about the COVID-19 banner exposure. When we did our research, we found that Honda was the only brand that actually had a banner ad specifically to COVID. And we think this is an opportunity for the FCA brands as well, and have an opportunity to display the decision matrix that we talked about earlier, in which people can reduce their impact with COVID. Finally, one of the things we talked about is really adopting a mobile-first platform. What we saw was all the websites were optimized for mobile, but there was no consumer app by any of the major automotive brands that brought a customer from the beginning to the end through the app to make the purchase for the car. We think that this is an opportunity, especially when thinking about things like virtual reality, augmented reality, someone being able to build their car on their phone and then being able to take a picture of their empty driveway and have that car be there. These are all things that can happen by adopting a mobile-first strategy for FCA. And now I'm going to have Roy talk about our training.
So now that we've explored our digital solution recommendations, you may be asking yourself, how do we get teams up and running in time before Q4? We recommend a 2-day training course with GridSpace AI for all members of the team, while the sales members, managers, and internet sales managers will receive a 1-week intensive session on all the platforms so that there's a deep understanding on how they work with each other. Of course, there's going to be tutorial videos and training modules for reference at any time. And now we have Corin, who's going to wrap it up.
So here's the RSA integrated digital process. We start off with having AI-driven customer sales. We increase engagement on the social media platforms through using Hootsuite. We get all of the clunkiness out of the paperwork process with Notarize, and then we really improve the chatbot interaction with Googaboo. And we really feel that by integrating these processes all together, not only will Angela have an amazing journey at the dealership, but really this is a platform that continues to learn as time goes on. The cost savings, the production, all of that works. And the great thing about it is this whole solution that we mentioned for you only costs the dealership $3,200 per month. So we're talking about an investment of, they can get rid of 2 employees and increase their productivity by 5. So that's our presentation, and we look forward to answering your questions, and we thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you, team. I'm going to go ahead and start your 10-minute timer. Now, if the judges could come out of mute and show their cameras, we can begin.
Hi, this is Ken Watson. Got a quick question. Looking at the AI bot, there seem to be multiple software tools. How do you ensure that they are aligned, that the release that comes out for Hootsuite versus some other software are in alignment and they've tested properly?
Well, that's a great thing about our choice of using Twilio. Specifically, Twilio Flex allows for any integration into any type of CRM. So let's say there's a dealership that decided not to go with Bin Solutions. They can still use this platform. All of the solutions that we recommended also are already integrated into Twilio. So this is not something that's living outside of the Twilio integration. And Twilio is pretty standard when it comes to coordinated engagement for customer journey. So this is that situation has actually been tested previously. And that's a great thing about using Twilio is that you don't have to worry about that friction. Those pieces of the puzzle have already been kind of connected together with the Twilio platform itself.
And
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that question. I think it was a great question, but I'm curious, are there other examples either inside of or outside of the automotive sales industry that have implemented the level of integration that you're proposing for us?
Yes, and actually the great thing about GridSpace is they are a user that is working with USAA as well as United Healthcare. So this is a proven solution that is already being used. What we're recommending is that we get more granular about it. Right now, we have a lot of large organizations that are using this platform, but why aren't the local dealerships being able to take advantage of the productivity and the reduction of cost? I think that this is where we're at right now.
So you talked, I'm sorry, this is Lottie. You talked about diversifying the consumer engagement channels,
Yes.
And specifically Ebates. And so this is somewhat fascinating to me. Are some of our competitors utilizing these other platforms to sell cars, or did you, I didn't catch if you said that or not?
They're not. And so what you have are the used dealerships are using it, but the brands are not. So it's like one of those things where the opportunity is just looking everybody in the face, but no one's stepping into it. This is exactly why we feel that this is an opportunity there, especially because.
Do we know why we haven't though? I mean, are there challenges inherent with new vehicles versus used vehicles as to why we're not using, or what would be the obstacle? Because I'm curious, none of us have embarked on doing this. That's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, I think what I've thought about is really the challenge is creating the process to be sticky all the way across the board, seamless. And this is where this platform that we're recommending does that. When you have a situation that starts online, but then you don't have the flow of what happens to the customer once they decided that they want the car, that's where everything starts to get a little crazy. And then when you start diversifying with different platforms, you have to manage the messaging on all these different platforms. So there really hasn't been the technology in the past that kind of seamlessly integrates all of those conversations into one, making sure that whether you're talking to Ebates or you're on Facebook, all of these conversations are the same. The technology is now available. So this is the opportunity for FCA to step in and take the lead.
Thank you.
A big part of your presentation was based on using artificial intelligence and sales bots. Does your research obviously states that that's an effective tool? Can you share some of that research?
Yeah, so what we find that it's effective, because remember, the customer has no clue that Nick is not an actual agent inside of the dealership. The person that he's speaking to, Angela is speaking to, is just another person. For Angela, the process is normally the same. The savings is actually on the back end. And so what we did when we were looking at the research, we were looking at, well, what type of engagement do you need to have? All right, so if you engage with the person within the first minute they submit their lead, you're increasing sales conversion 391%. That's awesome. How can we then take away all of the flexibility within the system and try to make it seamless? That's where we came up with the Notarize.com integration into it. So all of those pieces are what we really started to look at how we can focus on bringing this in. So not so much focusing on is the customer ready to engage with an AI bot? Right now, AI is at a point where the engagement is seamless. The customer doesn't even know that they're engaging with an AI bot. So really the focus is really about how can we increase engagement? How can we increase the speed of contact? And how can that engagement be more contextual? And that happens with more data. And so by using Nextcaller to pin more data, you know, what we see this solution doing is having this AI bot be the first person that the consumer engages with at the beginning of the process, but we don't see it stopping with the car being delivered. We see Nick following up with Angela throughout her whole car buying journey at the end, where Nick is reaching out and saying, hey, Angela, it's time for you to get your service. Or Angela, your car is at 30,000 miles now. Are you interested in trading up? This is a process that starts now with AI learning the whole journey. And each journey is going to be a little different at every dealership because you have the regional logic of the area. But once you have that initial engagement, and then the system starts gathering all that data, from that point on, the sky's the limit as to where the engagement can continue to go further down the pipeline.
I would like to add as well is that it's important for us to know that employees, FTE workers at FCA and other dealerships, they have time frames where they work, they go to sleep. And our GridSpace AI does not go to sleep, it works 24/7. So the connection will always be there for when the customer wants to engage.
Especially when you're thinking about, you know, putting in, you know, AI voice response into the cars. This is a perfect, seamless setup for that transition happening, where the person that's selling you the car is now the person that's engaging with you for the whole process. And that's about building relationship with the brand for the long term.
I want to push on this AI piece a little bit harder as well. I mean, it's clearly a really fascinating example. I think your demo really felt very strong and very compelling, but that's a demo. So that was actually just two people, one of them pretending to be a simulation. Is that correct?
Right, right.
So my one hesitation is around the maturity of AI, because I have interacted, I'm sure most of us have, with AIs that are attempting to pretend to be human beings. Right. And none of them that I've seen are performing at a level where I would be happy to have received a call from a non-person and actually got work done. So, I mean, they try. The airlines have been, I think we're early with it, but they're not there yet. So, and making this really work, it's going to take a lot of training of that software. You're going to have to really, and so that's work that the dealership can't do. So how much do you see? I mean, dealerships can't hire an IT person, or can they?
Yeah.
I mean, they can, but that's not a part of our solution. We don't recommend them starting to necessarily hire an IT person. That's where we feel that the FCA digital team will kind of lead the transition into stepping into the AI space. The dealerships have all different types of technology. So we're talking about, they may be using a different interactive voice response system. They may have all these different solutions that are there, but really FCA Digital kind of has to take the lead in helping them learn across the journey. The great thing about GridSpace, as I was looking at other AI platforms, is that it's one of the best that I've found that's using natural language processing in a way that's really contextual. I mean, if you have United Healthcare is using it for speaking to customers about health issues, and you have USAA, one of the largest financial institutions in the United States, that are using it, I think it's definitely a key indicator that this is a solution that's working. Any more questions, anyone?
Okay, if there's no more questions, then we'll go ahead and end the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Good job, guys.
Yeah,
Enjoyed
thank
it.
you. Great
Very
job.
creative.
Great job.
Very
Have a
creative.
good day.